Welcome to the Journey Podcast, where we talk freight, sales, tech, the market, and everything in between. My name is Will Jenkins, CEO and founder of Journey. Let's get it. Hello and welcome to the Journey Podcast. My name is Will Jenkins, CEO and founder of Journey. And today I'm joined by my boy, Justin Turner, managing partner and my business partner here in Journey. What's up, my friend?
How we doing, man?
Most excellent. It's been an action-packed first 12 days of 2026. So I'm feeling motivated, excited, absolutely jacked up for what's in front of us. And I'm pretty excited about this conversation too.
Man, it's been busy as hell. It's exciting to just kind of sit down for a moment and just have a conversation because we don't get a chance to do that as much as we used to.
Yeah, man, we got to carve out some time to be thoughtful about it. So funny enough, yeah, dude, crazy. So funny enough, obviously you and I chat all day, every day, and then we have standing times where we sit down and we get busy and we start talking about business. But we also have interesting conversations with our consulting clients and our recruiting clients and our training clients. And that lays the base for how people go to market and what it looks like to run revenue functions today. Boy, oh boy, are we in a different world than we were 6 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago. So we were having some interesting combos, you and I, a moment ago, but I want to pull on some of those threads, man, because I know you've got some hot takes on revenue functions nowadays.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. You know, we, to your point, we get the luxury of talking to so many cool people that are really trying to grasp this new environment that we're all kind of operating in. You know, you're well aware, Will, but the cost of capital is significantly different today than what it was, 3, 4, 5, certainly 5 years ago. And really the impact, I think, is hitting the revenue function harder than most functions. I think I can say that. You saw large sales teams before. You would see 50, 75, 100 plus sales teams, and there still exist today in the really large enterprise orgs. But oftentimes what you're seeing today are condensed revenue functions today that require significantly different precision than before, because one thing is for sure, the revenue goals have not dropped by any means. So the expectations are greater from fewer people. And I thought it'd be just a good time to kind of go to but, particularly talk about something that I think I was shocked that was so important when I took, one of my first senior executive, sales roles.
Yeah. So let's think a little bit about a couple of points here. Let's talk size of team. And you mentioned goals not changing. Hey, the numbers are still high. They might actually be higher. And what it takes to have a smaller team, but still get that same output. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So the quintessential solution has always been, to me, is how do we drive top of funnel activity? Top of funnel activity is something that you obviously can replicate with human behavior, but potentially with maybe artificial intelligence. But at the end of the day, like if you don't have a consistent way to drive leads into the funnel, it doesn't matter how many salespeople you have. If they're talking to the wrong people, it doesn't matter. Having a clear ICP, truly knowing who's your ideal customer. And there's a lot to even unpack there. Dude, we could spend an hour just talking about ICP alone, because more often than not, you'll hear people say, we want big logos. And for the sake of this podcast, I won't name any names of companies, but we all know these blue chip companies. You shop at them every day. You look in your refrigerator, they're in there. You might be drinking a glass of water today.
I'll say them, the Coca-Colas, the Pepsis, the Home Depots, the big dogs, all the Fortune 500.
For sure. And rightfully so. Those are great companies to work for a variety of reasons. They, for one, have great credit. 9 times out of 10, you don't have to really worry about payment issues. They have high volume, which sustains most organizations, particularly in brokerage. If you want to build a deep carrier network, you need volume to build that network density. So it's great for that. But there are trade-offs also. Hyper competitive. Every single broker, every single carrier that is after the same client. They have optionality. So
you
what does
want
that
them?
mean?
Everybody wants them.
Well, yeah, everybody does. So that just means that there could be margin compression because of that. So you have to factor that into consideration, but not to just spend too much time on that. That's a good example, though. You could spend an hour alone just talking about what are the trade-offs of being in each customer segment, right? So we could do that too. But we'll stop and just say, clearly knowing what types of freight you're good at, what types of clients you work really well with is at the very, very top of the priority list.
Yeah, that to me is like speed, right? Because you talked about, man, teams want the same output with less people. Well, shoot, if I don't know who's a good customer or a bad customer for our organization, it's going to take me longer to onboard those customers. So
100%.
my ramp's going to be longer. So my CRO or highest ranking sales leader or CEO is going to be like, what's going on with that? What's going on with that Will kid, right? He's not doing his thing yet, right? Well, shoot, I might be talking to the wrong kind of customers.
Yeah. So there's a few ways you can kind of figure that out. If you're a startup, you don't have any historical data, so it's all aspirational. At that point in time, you're optimizing for speed. Probably founder-led sales organizations, you 1,000% are using your background, your credibility to try to break through and get an opportunity. Over time, you'll have historical data that you can use to kind of reverse engineer the ICP. So we'll skip that part and go to the companies that do have a lot of clients, or at least a consistent customer base to talk about it. So what do I mean by reverse engineer? You could go in right now, Will, to any TMS in the country and pull your historical trailing 60, 90-day data and find out from a percentage basis which customers drive the business forward. There's a rule of thumb, it's the 80-20 rule, but in most organizations, 80% of the revenue really drives from about 20%. It's driven by about 20% of the company. So what are the composition of that 20%? What is the composition of the 20%? What verticals are they in? Are they in retail? Are they in pharmaceuticals? Are they in paper and packaging? Are they in food and beverage? All these things, you'll notice patterns. Why are the patterns important? Well, the patterns are important because we need to establish credibility, first and foremost. We need use cases. We need examples of things that we do really, really well to do what? To differentiate ourselves. Because again, back to the top of this point, everybody wants probably the same types of clients. So the customers are not asking very specifically for use cases to tell me if you're worth my time or not. You can't do that if you don't have data to support why you're worth their time.
Can't do it. I mean, we're working through this right now with a current consulting client and saying, hey, do that exact exercise because you may think that your best customers are enterprise and the data may show you that they are SMB or lower mid-market, but it's really hard to know until you get the entire scope of who we're transacting with today.
100%. And you'll be surprised, man, and maybe not. For my other executive experts out there, you might not be as surprised. It might be SMB. It might be high-end SMB companies. And what do I mean by that? Call it $70 million to $100 million enterprises. Low-end middle market, call it, let's say, up to, say, $250 million. These are companies with great credit profiles. These are companies that still buy off relationships. These are companies still value trust and loyalty. These may be companies that do not have the technical sophistication either that requires a very elongated product interaction where we have to do EDI or API integrations. If me and Will have a great conversation today, I send Will some great information about us. I spend time getting to know Will and his business and his expectations. There's a reasonably high certainty that Will may give me an opportunity. It doesn't matter how great my trust and my loyalty is when I'm talking enterprise. They have setup requirements. You're going to need to be EDI or API compatible in most cases. You're going to have a TMS that's configurable to their TMS. There's probably an RFQ process that you're going to have to be involved with to start. You're not going to win much unless you take a very aggressive pricing posture, which you end up paying for long-term financially. There's all these things, right, that you really have to unpack and discover to drive this ICP.
Huge.
So once you find out who your ideal customer is, let's use the tools and data out there to help us find them. There are platforms out there today that can tell us everything we want to know about the people that we're targeting. A very simple one could be LinkedIn. You could use a Zoom Info. You could use an Apollo.io. I don't want to be, advocating for any platform or the other, but find a lead generation tool that can allow you to push in the data points around your ICP and find out all the similar companies in that space. They could be NAICS codes. They could be SIC codes. All the things to find out, well, here's my customer base today. Here's what we're doing really well on. Here's what we're not doing quite as well on. So let's push that to the side. Let's find out all the attributes of the ones that we do really well. Let's find all their competitors. Let's find all the similar customers that are even in their value chain. What is the value chain? The value chain actually can be found out from the TMS. Go in the TMS, find out the shippers and receivers, find out all the co-packers, find out everybody that's involved with your customer supply chain and leverage them to create a closed loop network. We already work together today.
Totally.
We work together scheduling appointments for this client, and we have 8 trucks to come in your facility today for this client. These are all ways to further hone in on who our target customer base is. So I'll pause for a second. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that or not.
No, I think, to your point around understanding how to get in front of people that you may already be transacting with, care of, or, hey, you got a driver picking up somewhere, whatever it might be, it's increasingly easier to onboard a new customer that has any kind of familiarity. So if you were to rank my style or timing of outreach, the first thing that I would do was spend time with people that knew me the best. If Justin Turner were the director of transportation at an organization, he and I went way back and I'm new into freight, he's probably my first call because he knows me already. So I'm going to likely get more of an opportunity. And then you have a sliding scale of familiarity with you as a person or you as a brand. While places where you're already picking up or delivering, they kind of sit in the middle. They don't really know you, but they don't not know you. So it's an easier conversation. And back to the point of a smaller team with higher efficacy, I need to spend time with people where it's less cold. And so someone that, hey, shoot, they've seen one of my trucks, they've seen me on a BOL, they're seeing an invoice, maybe we don't transact directly. Gosh, the gold is so much in that cohort where they've got a little bit of familiarity of you as an org.
And to push us on to another part of this topic too, back to lead generation. I think I'd rather, if you made me take a bet right now, would I rather have 1,000 leads in my name that I don't know a lot about, or 100 leads in my name with high confidence that they're warm, they're familiar with my brand, they know my customers, they know someone from our team. I'm taking the 100 very targeted accounts every single day over the thousands. Totally. And I've seen salespeople oftentimes hoard these accounts because you just don't want to let them up. You don't want to let them go. In this era right now, precision matters more than volume. It's important to then take it top down. Who's the company's ICP? Make sure that concept is disseminated downstream into the sales rep's hands. And if you're a sales manager, you should be auditing your leads inside your book every single day, every single week, every single month. You should be kicking out leads that are not within our ICP and making sure your team stays focused. I can't think of a better job for a sales manager right now is driving home focus and execution in the top of funnel.
Totally. So let's think a little bit here in a market like we're in that has been one of the worst for freight in recent history. And, we see a lot of teams, as you mentioned, not necessarily expanding to add a ton of headcount in every scenario to hit their revenue targets. When you think about being a savvy chief revenue officer or revenue leader, are there any other things to consider to get the most out of your team? About your ICP, we talked about being a little bit more warm with some of your outreach and really targeted. Anything else you think about that's top of mind right now so we can hit our 26 goals?
I think that companies could leverage intent data a little bit better. Also, this is, again, back to creating warm engagements. Knowing who's visiting your site, who's a fan of your platform, who's even remotely familiar with you is, I think, one of the most important things out there to shorten sales cycles. And if you're a sales leader today, ultimately, that's one of your top goals right now is how do I condense my sales cycles? For one, you should know what they are. So that's kind of back to having that RevOps functionality. You should have really good data today that tells you by segment how long your sales cycles are so you can make sure that you're focused on the ones that help you hit your goals quickly. Now, there can be a small subset of leads out there that are kind of ambition leads. They're aspirational for sure.
We got to have them. Everybody's got to have them, man. They get you excited.
Man, but 85% of what's in the funnel today needs to be inside the ICP, not just customer type, but customer size. So back to intent data, we should be able to know and track who's visiting our website, who's following us on LinkedIn, who's connected to who, the depth and brevity of the C-suites relationships and networks. If you're VC-backed or private equity-backed, asking your investors if they have relationships at the very, very highest levels that can be accretive to you as part of the portco. All of those things kind of fall into the how do we warm our pipeline strategy. So
I have one.
To me, that's top of mind.
I have one that is just a burning passion of mine after coaching reps for so long and then doing the same on the consulting side for us today. So we can solve the ICP and we can tell people that, man, our business is incredible with food and beverage, customers that are of this size and they move this freight. Maybe it's even regionally based, et cetera, et cetera. But when you get into the nitty gritty and you look at the leads that your reps are actually calling, you would be shocked. Even when you give them that at the quality that some of your reps are very tactful with how they spend their time and they will go and find the best, both contacts. So buying, they know who buys and they stay in front of those people and who the company is. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have other reps that have the worst leads you've ever heard of, even if you tell them who's in your ICP and you spend the time to work on it. So whether you have a team, maybe whether you automate some of this, there's got to be some kind of approval process to tell people that they are or are not wasting their time. You can have reps that are incredible at talking to customers and incredible at growing their book of business, but if they spend their time with customers that don't have the propensity to buy, or have the service that you don't have the service that they need, it's a waste of time. And I've just, spent so much time looking at like 200 leads, and 180 of them are the wrong ones, even if you tell the rep the ICP. So you got to get into the nitty gritty to solve that from time to time.
Well, one of the things that's the biggest confusion out there I've noticed is that people conflate leads and accounts, like the concept of it, right? Like, and just for this recording, accounts are companies, leads are people. So consider leads like business cards. We've all probably been to conferences before. You come back, you got 80 business cards. Those are leads. You can have multiple leads per account. So the point here that Will is making is that hundreds of people work at a company, sometimes thousands of people. So you can be targeting quote unquote Walmart, but have like a warehouse supervisor as your lead for Walmart, and your sales cycle is 5 years because you're talking to the wrong person.
Brother.
So understanding who the buying titles are is also really important. So once you figure out, okay, what the companies are that we want to target, they perform well in our business, got to also find out who makes buying decisions at the company. And I'll tell you, the titles get lower the higher you go up. They are higher the lower you are, meaning that if you're targeting SMB, it may be COO, it may be CEO. It may be VP of supply chain for a $50 million company. In enterprise, it could be a category manager. It could be a transportation manager for one of the distribution centers, because some of them are fragmented. Like not all of them make centralized buying decisions. So, these are all the things that you have to go through, and it's time consuming. But if we're talking about precision, these are the things that leaders can do right now to help their team hit their goals, but also ensure that they insulate themselves from missing their goals. Because the worst thing you can do is have a bunch of people on the payroll today that are targeting the wrong types of accounts and targeting the wrong people inside the right accounts. So I think you're spot on, Will.
Pain. It's pain that I've felt before. Would like to help others avoid it, because the only thing that we can never get back is time. And so if you spend months and months and months really with the wrong people, wrong types of customers, dude, a quarter goes by. We know that there's always latency in sales. So spend a quarter talking to the wrong people, man. I'm a quarter behind. And typically sales with larger accounts, you got 3, 6, 9 month sales cycles. Time's too valuable, man. I can't waste it.
One more thing. We'll wrap here soon. Back to the top of this conversation. I didn't really word it the best, to be honest with you. RevOps, if you can afford it, is very, very important. And I didn't know this really until I got a chance to work with my good friends, Peter Fritz. Peter, if you're out there, shout out to Peter. Peter's a very incredible analytics mind. And I found a partner in him when we were building together at Flock. And it showed me how important analytics is to the entire revenue function, because similar to like losing weight, you just don't say, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. You have to create small milestones along the way. And you have to create small wins along the way that tell you that directionally we're doing the right things. It doesn't happen overnight. And sales and revenue are also the very same. They're latent. The deals that we close today are because of the things that we did 6 months ago, oftentimes. So there's the ability to forecast and see ahead 3 to 6 months if you have the right analytics team and the right analytical partner beside you. They should be a non-biased party that purely pulls data and says, okay, what are our goals across the sales process? Leads, qualification, solutions design, quoting, active, inactive, etc. Whatever your sales process is, there should be a goal for each one of them. And the purpose of having goals is because at the very, very top of funnel, if you're missing those goals, you're not going to hit the bottom of funnel goal. And the bottom of funnel goal is usually the revenue goal. That's the one that everyone cares about. But the technical sales leaders realize very early on that a lot of this is engineering also. It's the commercial acumen to be able to articulate our value proposition very well, hire great people, train great people, set them up for success. But it's also the technical ability to forecast and see 3 to 6 months ahead if we're doing the right things or not. You will get in more trouble as a revenue leader not being able to tell that story than you will be to say to your CEO partner and your board investors and your team, I'm looking at April. I know it's December right now. I don't feel good about Q2 right now, because you give yourself 4 or 5 months to rebuild the strategy. We need to do something different at the top of funnel, because we need more leads coming to the system, or we need to your point, Will, analyze the leads that we have in our system to identify, are we doing the right things? Are we talking to the right people? Are we delivering the right messaging? Do we have the right content? Are we going to the right conferences? Are we investing in social strategy the right way? Are we doing the right things? Because right now we're behind at qualification, solutions design, and all those things are top of funnel. Well, solutions probably more mid, but you know what I'm saying, right? So that's the quality of the best salespeople that I know, sales leaders I know, is the ability to adequately build sales process that has technicalities behind it that gives them the ability to forecast. So I definitely want to make sure I got that in there.
I love it, man. So I think it would make sense at one of these, during one of these, to really, really go deep into each of those, top of the funnel, mid funnel, closing deals, talk about building solutions for different organizations. But this is a really good, quick walkthrough on some of the demand and revenue generation activities and functions that are necessary for a team to go and attain those deals, even in a challenging economic environment. As resources, it was really helpful.
Yeah, as we close, one of the biggest misconceptions out there is that, you can just hire these magician salespeople sometimes to hit these big numbers. And there are some really fantastic and talented sales people out there that are exceptional at what they do. But oftentimes you find out it's the model behind them. It's the brand, it's investing in brand. So there's equity in the market. People know who you are. It's the processes that we kind of briefly highlight. It's having the team around them that helps them succeed. So we talk even on the training side, like having a great training program that keeps them practicing and working on the fundamentals. They're just so much into how to hit the number that I know we tried to cover as much as we could in 30 minutes, but it's way too long for 30 minutes. But hopefully we're able to share some valuable information today.
Man, it was great. I look forward to catch you on the next one, my friend. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and let's get to it.
Yes, sir, man. See ya.